Have you ever caught yourself lying awake at night, wondering if you and your loved one will really be okay? Anne told me something that sounds familiar. She said, I just feel like this heavy burden on my shoulders, and I don't know how long I can keep carrying it. For her, it wasn't just the everyday tasks. It was the legal papers that went missing, the endless ER visits, and her money fears, and even her own health was taking a hit. Maybe you have felt that way too, where the fear of the financial and the unknown future gets so loud it drowns out the security and peace God has promised us as His children. Hey, Christian Care Companion, welcome back to Dementia Caregivers Support for Christians, the podcast where I help Bible-believing Christians stay rock solid in their faith while caring for somebody living with dementia. Around here, we talk about the everyday struggles that wear you out, the not knowing what to say without lying, the feeling like you're stretched so far you cannot keep up, and the heart work that we carry, the fear, the guilt, and the dread that just don't let go. In today's episode, we're stepping right into the middle of the capacity struggle, where our financial worries and legal tangles feel heavier sometimes than the actual caregiving itself. And if you're listening today and you feel like Anne, you feel stretched thin by money decisions and the weight of it all, I want you to know that you do not need to shoulder this alone. That's why we created the Christian Dignicare Society. For a one-time investment, it is a lifetime community designed to help you steward your caregiving role with security and peace. Inside, you will have faith-informed guidance, you'll find practical tools, and be in a community of other believers who understand the load that you are carrying. Together, we can glorify God, we can protect your relationships, and we can care with dignity and truth. And the best part, it's less than $100 for lifetime access. So you can join us today at the link in the show notes and take your next faithful step towards order and peace. And if you're not ready for that level of commitment, do not worry. Our next free monthly workshop is coming up soon, and I invite you to register for that at thinkdifferentdementia.com/WSL. Now, without further ado, let's join my conversation with Anne. So, Miss Anne, thank you for being here today. And seriously, thank you for being patient and being here this entire time. Let us imagine it's 6 months from today and your caregiving journey feels easier. What does that look like for you?
When you asked that in the email, I did jot a couple things down. Easier in the future to me would be, I believe, more consistent trained help. I have in-home care twice a week, roughly. There's been some trips and things that complicate that so that I don't, but in-home care, 5 hours twice a week. And I started the in-home care, I believe, 6 months ago.
Okay.
And I've trained 4 different people. And I'm
Okay.
hoping this last one is going to stick
Okay.
and stay with the senior care provider that I'm using. The other thing that I'm doing is researching less expensive overnight senior care, because that senior care, I've been taking a respite day once a month, which really seems to help me. I get out of the house. I go and stay in a hotel, and someone stays here overnight with my husband. And
Okay.
anyway, that was full price with this existing senior, even though it's overnight, even though they can sleep. He's early FTD dementia. So he's, sleeping, waking up once a night and getting up,
Mhm.
wandering out of the house yet.
Okay.
So yeah, I think in the future, I'd like to have more overnights. I think would help me, especially in the winter. as this is our first year with the stress of my husband. Also, I heard Mary mention this. I believe he's also in a full-time catheter. And so we've had 19 visits to the ER with issues related to that. Finally, figuring out more ways to make that easier from one of my other support group calls called D Manos, keeps him clear, and it's much better. Uh,
Okay.
anyway, so yeah, I think that's the main thing for me is I also had to visit the ER myself last night.
Oh
My
dear. I hope you're
Yeah, I
doing okay.
drive myself there. I fell. I fell on some boards and cut my arm open pretty badly. So I had about, I don't know, 15 stitches. So
Oh,
to me, this is like signs that I need more help.
okay. What's standing in your way of achieving those two things?
Financial concerns, honestly. I have in-home, I don't know why. I think it's just a fear-based thing. And I'm working on trusting the Lord and finances, but we've been paying into long-term care insurance for a while, and we have that now. We've approved after a 3 months clearing process, whatever they call it, where I'm approved, but then for 3 months I still pay. And, it's just all the finances. My husband used to take care of all that, and all of a sudden I'm doing it. And so the burden's heavier in that area. And well, that's not true. My daughter-in-law is an accountant, so she's paying the bills or getting them all on automatic pay. But,
Okay.
I still end up with that burden on my shoulders, I think. And
Okay. May I ask a couple of clarification questions?
yes,
So, how long have you known that your husband has FTD?
the final diagnosis was probably 4 months ago, but I knew, we all knew something was wrong, and
Mhm.
whether or not it was Alzheimer's. His mother had Alzheimer's. We thought it might be that, but then with the blood work and the thorough testing, they narrowed it
Uh-huh.
down to FTD.
And do you know which variant?
I believe it's behavioral.
Okay.
And yes, he's still walking, but yes, I have struggles with his behaviors for sure.
Okay.
Eh,
How old is your husband?
he's 74.
74. Okay. All right, sweet lady. The very first thing I'm going to say, if it is okay with you, is or ask a follow up question. Tell me about you falling.
Yes. Well, it really was an accident. But honestly, part of it too is the burdens of, I also had a visit with the lawyer yesterday, very interestingly, a new lawyer.
Okay.
And that's helping me now doing okay, all this new terminology is the other thing. I was so relieved to hear someone else on this call not be able to bring to mind words because we're
Very
overwhelmed, right?
yes, ma'am.
We're all overwhelmed with everything that we're taking on. And it's the
The
thing where
power
conserv-
of attorney, the healthcare power of attorney, all of those things.
yeah, and the conservatorship where we actually have to go to court because we do have a doctor's lack of competency. We have a letter from the doctor saying he's incompetent.
Okay. Let me ask a question
Yes.
real quick, specifically about the conservatorship and the lawyer.
Yes.
Did somebody specifically recommend that you seek conservatorship and guardianship?
Well, the lawyer did because the original lawyer that we had was in the Northeast in Seattle. I was communicating with him long distance and it started not to work. And I thought I mailed him before we had the lack of competency from the doc. I believe I mailed him the power of attorney and the health directive that my husband had signed, but he either lost it or never received it. So
Okay.
now because we don't have a power of attorney, we have to do the other thing.
Okay. So,
Right.
what I hear you saying for clarification for me is that there was an attorney, you did have a DPOA and healthcare power of attorney, you had all of those documents. You mailed the originals to this attorney, and somewhere in this mess, they lost it or something happened. And now you're stuck. The only option you have is conservatorship guardianship. Did I
Yes.
sum that up?
Yes, I
Oh,
believe so.
sweet lady, I'm so very sorry.
Thank you.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
And having said that, it's not necessarily the worst thing in your specific situation.
Okay.
The only outlier of that is if you have, my terms, not yours, people, wingnut family in the wings that are going to swoop in and make it hard for you. Because
Okay.
as long as it's not contested, it's an easy process. But
Okay.
if you seek conservatorship guardianship and there's a wingnut person somewhere that says no, then it turns into a huge mess.
Okay. So guess his brother's coming to visit next week.
But
So I just I should not bring it up, probably, right? I mean,
I would not bring it up to anybody that doesn't need to know.
okay, my children, all three of my children have to sign a paper.
But your three children, you need to have very open and honest conversations with them and
Yes.
say, if you guys do not sign this, this will end up in a contested conservatorship in the court, and they will take everything we have. And the
Oh,
only people who will win in this fight are the lawyers.
right. The usual. Yes. Okay.
The reason I say that is because your kids may be well meaning and
Right.
understand the implication of it and say, well, why are you doing that? You're trying to take dad's rights away.
Right.
Not understanding that if any of them actually contest your attempt to do this, whatever money you guys have, whatever money your children have,
Gonna be gone.
everything will be tied up in court and nobody wins.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Okay?
I needed something to say with one of my children, but the other two I think will be fine. So that gives me something specific to say to him. So I'm hoping, and not that he really would, but you
But
know,
we want to make sure the conversation was had beforehand, so it's not a shock, and then they say, "Oh, no,"
right. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because that's usually what'll happen. And
Right.
so guardianship and conservatorship is a wonderful solution and has absolutely valid needs and reasons to have.
Okay.
However, we want to ensure that it doesn't turn into a contested thing.
Yes. You're right. Okay. My husband just came in the room. So
I
this is
I
my,
an I anticipated, I saw, it's not a big deal. It's
okay.
it's not a problem at all. But
Okay.
so back to your little tumble.
Yes. So I was carrying two big wood things to throw out downstairs. And because I had also gotten a pedicure, my foot slipped in the sandal and I took a tumble on top of it and
Okay.
cut open my arm with the wood pieces.
Having said all of that, even though you do not think that it is necessary right now, because you may not have gotten hurt, you have now fallen, and now you're more at risk for falling. Okay? Even though it was an accident, you're more at risk for falling. The research actually shows that caregivers do fall a lot. Okay? And so, what I'd strongly encourage you to do is to consider just having what I call a tune up therapy, some outpatient physical therapy to work on the underlying skills, balance, and strength for you so that you can be in the best position possible for your own physical well being just because you fell. Okay. Now I'm going to go into what you were talking about, the more consistent help being trained and researching less overnight respite care. The thing I really want to highlight though is I'm very grateful for you that you have the long-term care insurance. You have now fulfilled the requirements of that. And so what I would strongly encourage you is use your long-term care insurance policy as best you are able, not blow through it, but do not be fearful of using the support that you need in order for you to do this over the duration. Your husband's
And that's the question, right, Liz? That is always, what is the duration? Because as I'm taking the total amount of money that they're giving us and dividing that into 5 years or 10 years, it's like, right, I'm going to blow through it in five, I think, if
So
I,
what I would recommend that you do is you mentioned a daughter-in-law who is a accountant. right?
Yes.
Sounds like you have some good people, numbers people in your world, right?
Yes.
Is to really sit down and look and see, like, the questions you need to ask it, are all your assets in a trust, or are they outside of the trust, and all of these things,
That's the other thing that the lawyer's doing, by the way. He's updating our trust and will. So
right?
anyway, I'm sorry.
So if your husband is being declared incompetent, his stuff cannot be updated.
okay. Right.
Legally, it's not, you can't, you can't have it both ways.
Right.
If
Well,
the doctor has said that he is incompetent and
right.
you're pursuing guardianship, his stuff cannot be updated. If you have mirror image stuff, his stuff cannot be changed.
Well, I think you're right. That's why the lawyer says we do the incompetence first, and then we do the court thing and then we do my will. And
Right. Your stuff can be changed, but
right.
his stuff cannot be
Yeah, I
changed.
think that's why you just said it.
Right.
Yes.
But if you guys already have a trust, whatever's in that trust, you need to speak with the elder care attorney and people who are in financial services who understand elder care law,
And that's what he is. He's an elder care attorney.
right, to ensure that your assets are protected,
Right.
so that if you go through all of the money in the long-term care insurance policy, that your husband qualifies for Medicaid.
Okay. I think he did mention that when we got together. So thank you for
Okay.
reminding. Yes.
So what we're trying to do is it's a a forked road, for lack of a better analogy, right this second. We want to ensure your dear spouse is taken care of, but when he passes away, that Anne is taken care of afterwards. What that means is we cannot blow through all of the money you guys have taking care of him, because then you have nothing taking care of you. So the attorney, the elder care attorney, his job is to help protect both your husband and you, and ensure that if your husband outlives this long-term care insurance policy, that there is something in play, be it Medicaid or whatever, to be able to provide care for him, so that you don't have to decimate all of your assets in this process.
I think that's what he's doing. Yeah.
Right. But this should help you take away some of that financial concern, because what you have expressed to me already tells me you and your husband have made wise decisions, and that you're already being provided for.
Okay. Yes. I just had
Okay.
that fear, not knowing the future exactly and trying to be a good steward of what we do have been blessed with, right?
I understand 100%.
Yeah.
And the fear comes from not knowing.
Right.
If you knew that it was 5 years, it would take the anxiety away.
Yeah.
If you knew it was 2 years, it would take the anxiety away. What creates that anxiety is the open-ended, I don't know how long it's going to be,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And so the way I want you to frame it in your mind is, the Lord already knows how long it's going to be.
Yes.
And his provision for you is going to come from places that you have never thought it coming from.
You're right. He's done that in the past. I don't know why I can't remember that
I
and
know,
trust him
right?
more. But
But
he's done that over and over in the past.
human.
Yes.
It is human, and it is okay. But when we have these thoughts and feelings come up, God already knew before the beginning of time, before Anne even was here and before her husband even was, that he was going to have FTD in the future, and that this situation was going to unfold. And the Lord has put the right people in your life in order to help you.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, his plan is perfect. Our response to his plan is never perfect. But what I mean is, if your dear sweet husband is a believer, and if you are a believer and you keep your eyes on eternity, this is but a temporary struggle, a temporary discomfort in light of eternity. And, that totally reframes how we look at the situation. Because everybody looks at the medical component of dementia and the caregiver experience of dementia, and not that it is a relationship centered journey, starting with your relationship with God and then your relationship with the person that you're taking care of, with the eye on eternity. And when we start to think about it in that way, you're shepherding your husband's eternal soul through this journey.
Really? That's quite a responsibility. He did that already when he accepted the Lord.
Right. But you're shepherding, you're helping him.
Okay.
You're walking alongside your husband. You're not responsible for his faith. You're not responsible to uphold his faith. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Okay.
saying that your journey, if you keep your eye on Christ, and if your husband's a believer, your role and responsibility is to always take him and point his eyes back to Christ. Okay? So specifically, and I'm going to use FTD specifically as an example. There's a really good book. It's called Blame It on the Brain. Okay? It was written by Ed Welch. Blame It on the Brain. So when we as believers are working through a dementia journey, FTD, Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, whatever, there's two things happening at the same time. We have an actual physical change to the person's brain. This is not an imagination. There are actual physical changes to his brain occurring, right? That cause, because of where his dementia is in the frontal part of his brain, cause behavior, right? And he's a sinner, right? So, why is this important, Anne? Because when I'm helping people, always start with, is it the brain first? Is it because of the physical changes to the brain? So I'll use a friend, Pam. She was a member in my community. Her mom had vascular dementia. They had a dog in the house. And Pam would say to her mom, don't feed the dog. It upsets the dog's stomach. Please don't feed the dog. We tried strategies, assuming it was her brain. She's not remembering. Don't give the dog snacks. All of this, right? Until we tried everything related to possible brain. And then finally, I'm like, Pam, this is sin. Your mom knows. She knows she's not supposed to feed the dog. She wants to feed the dog. She is actually sinning. And she confronted her mom with that, a woman living with dementia, and said, Mom, you are sinning. I've asked you repetitively, please do not do this. Her mom got mad. Most of us do when we're confronted with sin, huffed off, came back the next morning and said, yes, Pam, you're right. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Brain change and sin. And the problem with FTD in specifically is everybody's going to always just assume it's brain change and not sin. Do we start with brain change? Yes. But if you have tried things and your husband's a believer and you have really, really thought and prayed and done all the things we know to do, and if you conclude in yourself, we know when people are sinning against us, right? That it is a sinful response on his side. As a Christian, it's our responsibility to confront that person with their sin. Because my responsibility is to point them to Christ, eyes on Christ, even through their dementia journey. I'll use a good friend of mine, Diane. Her husband was a pastor. He had Alzheimer's. He passed away about a year ago. And all through their journey, he was a wonderful, sweet, godly man. And a few times he would respond sinfully, and she would confront him with it. Gently, kindly, she was a pastor's wife. And she would say to him, we don't talk to one another like that in this house. And it was enough for him to come back and say, yes, please forgive me. So the balance, Anne, for you and for Mary and for other people is that yes, your spouse has a real physical change, but there is also a sin component. We don't assume it's sin first. We assume it's physical changes. But if we've tried all the strategies, because there are things that work, if we've maintained the relationship, that's the thing that I would recommend for you as much as possible, and maintain a kind and generous and soft and gracious, hard as it is, spirit and relationship with your husband. Non-confrontational as much as possible. And there are ways that we can work through that. But if we maintain that relationship first and keep it not adversarial, in the future as his brain changes, it will make a difference. Okay?
Even though, so confronting the sin in kindness, obviously, because it's big and little things that, I don't know if we have time for a question, but toenails. I can't get him to cut his toenails. Somebody's talking about jeans. I can relate to that, but I can't get him to, and he won't let me do it. He won't let.
Okay. I have one word for you. Podiatrist.
Okay. All right. I'll try
A real practical solution.
Okay.
Have your primary care physician tell the primary care physician. So here's the challenge. Here's the opportunity, right? All of us, every single human, has a way of acting and reacting based on circumstances and social environment. When I go to the dentist, I can see it's the dentist chairs because I looked at Mary, right? I know how I'm supposed to act in a dentist chair. I know how I'm supposed to act in church. I know how I'm supposed to act when I go to the doctor. And so some of the stuff, behavior, things, I don't want you to cut my toenails, will not be there in the setting where it is required.
Okay.
So give it a shot.
I'll do it.
All right. What's one thing that you can take from our conversation today to make it easier for you in the next few weeks?
I think double checking with the caregivers that I'm using that this is a permanent person I've got now that's going to be here a while, and maybe even adding some more hours to the week.
One last piece of advice on the caregivers. If you are able to start to, I know it requires a little bit of effort on your side, and I know that things are, there's a lot on your plate. I recognize that. But as much as possible, if you can start a document that specifically his preferences, his likes, his desires, things that work, the things that work. Because I hate to say this, the caregivers are going to turn around. You're constantly going to be teaching and training new caregivers. But if you know what it is that sets him off, if you know what it is that he likes, if you know what it is that makes it easier, if you keep a running list, so you're not every single time having to retrain them, it will make it a little smoother in the end.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you.
All right, sweet lady, it is lovely having you here. People who are really benefiting from the community are the people who joined earlier on, before they need it, and that have been active and are participating in the community, because then they already know what questions to ask and they have a place to come, and they're not constantly wondering, what do I need to do? How do I need to do it? So people listening are interested in tapping into or learning about the community. I'd invite you to just go to the website, thinkdifferentdementia.com. There's a link for you to schedule a 20-minute call. There's no pressure. I'll serve you regardless of whether you join the community or not. But it is a way for you to take this relationship a little deeper, a little bit more hands-on support, because really the research also shows it's longitudinal support over time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. I would highly recommend Lizette. She's awesome.
I see. I appreciate that endorsement.